Yo, Hegassen here, One Piece 955. What an amazing chapter that one was. Here is my review of it. If you saw my live reaction, you will know how excited I was reading this chapter. So much information to talk about. So we're going to break down the highlights here, and we're going to start at the end. This chapter ends Act 2 of Wano. We finally end Act 2, and it ends how they've all ended with Hiyori. Now that we know that Hiyori is Kumurasaki, Hiyori playing off with the music and ends in the same way. But just before that, we have Orochi, and he's got a little slip of paper and he's reading out a report on it. And in that report is everything about the Alliance, which means that there is a traitor somewhere in the Alliance. Orochi knows that Udon, or he suspects that the reports coming out of Udon are false. He knows about the port change. He knows that they've changed ports. And he knows, most crucially as well, this is the most important one, that Hiyori is alive and is in the Northern Graveyard. After Orochi, we have a panel of Law, and Law is looking a little bit panicked. He's got the lines over his eyes. Straight away when you see that, I thought it in my reaction, but you look at that and you think, whoa, Law, has he turned traitor? Especially after what we saw last week with Hawkins and him potentially working with X-Drake. Has Law just gone traitor? I don't know. I'm not sure. I have a feeling that maybe this is trickery in the paneling. I think Oda has done this on purpose. There's a few little things here of note. First of all, the fact that Law is facing away from Orochi. You know, they're both facing the same direction. If they were talking to one another, I feel like Law would be facing the other way, looking towards Orochi. So that's something that throws me off. Again, I'm not even really sure if they're in the same location. Where Orochi is, he definitely looks like he's inside, because he's normally always inside of his palace, and we see the exterior of his palace. Law, we can see sakura blossoms going past. We even have the music that Hiyori is playing, starts playing in Law's panel. So maybe is Law in Ringo? I mean, not really sure, but again, I'm not quite sure that Orochi and Law, they're in the same place. And most importantly of all is the fact, that detail about Hiyori being in the Northern Graveyard. Earlier in this chapter, Kinemon says that he hasn't heard from Law, and that's been like about 6 days now that he hasn't heard from Law. So how would Law know about Hiyori being in the Northern Graveyard? And that is the thing that gets me speculating that maybe it's not Law, maybe it's someone else. Who is that someone else? Well, it has to be someone from that war summit in Amigasa village. I've seen online a few people saying maybe Okiku, a few people saying maybe it's Kanjuro. Not really sure about them too. I mean, they're both members of the 9 Red Scabbards. I doubt it's going to be a member of the 9 Red Scabbards. Not really sure about Kanjuro as well. I mean, he even left Wano with Momonosuke. I mean, I think if he was a rat working for Orochi, he probably wouldn't even let Momonosuke even leave Wano. So I'm not really sure about them. I mean, it could be. We don't really know a lot about Kanjuro. So it could be them. But I've got my eyes on somebody else. A lot of people are still running with that theory that maybe Carrot is the traitor. This has been a theory that's gone way back, all the way back to Zoe, all the way back to Jack hunting Raizo. It's a fun theory. I do like that theory. But personally, I don't really believe in it. I mean, there's some good stuff in there, but there's also quite a few contradictions. You know, the fact that Carrot, she never even left Zoe until the Straw Hats took her to Whole Cake Island. The fact that she went to Whole Cake Island in the first place, I mean, if she was working with Kaido and if she wanted to rat out Momonosuke and Raizo and all that, why did she go with Luffy to Whole Cake Island to save Sanji? Why wouldn't she have gone with Zoro and all that to Wano and then ratted them out when they got there, and then when the rest of the Straw Hats arrived, put an ambush up or something? It doesn't really make sense. Also, you know, the fact that now we know that Big Mom and Kaido are working together, the Big Beast Pirate Alliance. If they're working together, why would Carrot want to work with someone whose crew, Big Mum's crew, with Perospero, is responsible, or at least partly responsible, to Pedro's death, Pedro being Carrot's mentor? I don't think she'd want to work with somebody that allies himself with them. I'm more looking forward to a potential Carrot Perospero fight. Now we've got Big Mom and Kaido's forces joining together. So I don't really think it's Carrot. Who's it going to be? I have my own little theory. I've got my eyes on Shinobu. Why Shinobu? Well, first of all, she's there, she's in the village, she knows all of that information. Secondly, when you go back and look at some of Shinobu's past appearances, they all kind of tie up to times where the Alliance has been under attack or ratted out, you know. Shinobu was present in the bathhouse with Nami and Robin when X-Drake and Hawkins turned up. Shinobu was talking to Tonyasu shortly before Tonyasu got captured. She's just always there in them situations. So if it's got to be a character, I'm kind of now leaning towards her. We know that she is a fellow ninja. We know that she used to work under Fukuraikuju, who works for Orochi. Could she be a sleeper agent? The only thing kind of going against it is the fact that Hanzo didn't recognize Shinobu. So maybe she has been like deep undercover for a long, long time. But yeah, I've got my eyes on Shinobu, especially with the fact that she keeps trying to rat out and talk disrespect about Law, and everybody at the moment is pointing their fingers at Law because Oda is trying to make it look like it's Law. Then we've got Shinobu, who's also kind of trying to push us towards thinking Law, and that just makes me think that Law's a redheaded and maybe it's actually Shinobu. So I've got my eyes on Shinobu now going forward. What do you think? I'd love to know your thoughts. Have you got your own theories? Let me know down in the comments below. Do you like my thoughts about this? You enjoy my video so far? If you are, just smash that like button. Helps me out, helps out this channel, be much appreciated. Now we've got a lot more to talk about because that's only one thing of this chapter, and that was only at the end, the last few panels. So much more to talk about, including Zoro's swords. Officially in this chapter, Zoro gets Enma as his new sword, replacing Shusui, which is currently at the Grave of Ryuma. We still haven't seen that, but we know that the sword is there, and we find out a lot of information, not just about Enma, but about the rest of Zoro's swords. Starting off with the Sandai Katetsu, we find out that that was created by Tengayama, the Tengu that we've seen a few times in Wano. That was created by him because we know he was a weaponsmith and a doll collector, but mainly a weaponsmith. So he made that sword, and somehow that sword got to the East Blue and ended up in Zoro's hands. We then find out, obviously, that Enma was Odin's sword, and that was from Wano. And we find out that the person who made Enma also made the Wado Ichimonji. Yes, Enma and Wado Ichimonji were made by the same person. Kozaburo Shimotsuki. I think that's how you pronounce that name, but there it is again, that final last name again. Most important, Shimotsuki. The same as Tonyasu, the same as Zoro's home village, and we find out that this Kozaburo, he left Wano 50 years ago and went off. Where did he end up? Highly likely he ended up in the East Blue, set up Shimotsuki village, set up a dojo that Zoro went to. What does this mean for Zoro? What does this mean most importantly for Zoro's sensei? Kyushiro, very similar sounding name to Kozaburo. Well, if you look at the timing here, I think we can rule out Kyushiro actually being him, because it's stated that Kozaburo left 50 years ago or over 50 years ago, and Kyushiro, he is stated as being 51 years old, so that doesn't make sense unless he made them swords and left when he was a tiny little baby. I very much doubt it, but there is a possibility here that they could be father and son, which is very interesting. So he could still have Wano descent. What about Zoro? Is he a descendant of Wano? It's not actually looking that likely, to be honest. I mean, I'm not seeing anything here that's linking Zoro directly to it, apart from the fact that he grew up in Shimotsuki village. So maybe Zoro isn't actually from Wano himself, but all three of his current swords are, so that is very interesting. We also find out as well that Enma, you know, you have to be really strong swordsmith to use it, because the sword itself is extremely powerful. Zoro goes to cut a tree and he cuts a whole cliff, but it also drains your life energy. It forces you to use armament hacking. We see that on Zoro. His arm goes really thin for a second, then he tries to tame it and his arm goes quite big, you know, like gorilla, but he's still struggling to use it. So Zoro's been training with that, so that's some good interesting stuff. Zoro getting a very big power up with that sword, and we get further explanation that that sword, Enma, hasn't become a black blade yet in Zoro's hand, so it can only get another power up going forward into Wano. So he's already got a powerful sword and it can power up, and his other two swords, they are also from Wano, made by legendary weaponsmiths. It's all looking great for Zoro so far. If you're a Zoro fan, I'm sure you very much enjoyed this chapter. And that's not all, because also Luffy got a little power up this week. He finally seems to have mastered his new Haki, his Haki flow. We see him punching a tree, and the tree explodes from the inside without him touching it. So I think it's clear now that Luffy has finally mastered that. What could that mean? Could we get a new gear? Could we get gear 5? Not sure, but it looks like he's mastered it, so that's something good. 2 power-ups in one chapter. Great stuff. And of course we had Sanji with his raid suit. So the monster trio all getting stuff in Wano. Let's just hope that the rest of the Straw Hats also get some power-ups too. Other things this chapter, we see that they have made temporary graves for Tonyasu and for Pedro, which is really nice. So they've made a nice little grave for Pedro. We see all of the minks reacting. We see Carrot there. She's not really reacting. She's got a very still face. A lot of people are using that for more fuel, and the Carrot is a traitor theory. I see it more as, she's had her time to mourn. This is her determined face. This is her, I'm ready for action. I'm coming for you, Perospero face. We also have excitement in the cover page story this week. We see Capone, and he's going to an island. What island is it? It is Dressrosa. So Capone is going to Dressrosa. Since he can't go over the red line, he's going to have to stop at an island, and that island is Dressrosa. And that's very interesting. I'm going to talk about that again a little bit coming up, and the possibilities that that could have, because we also get in this chapter some hints, or I believe some hints, that we could be getting Grand Fleet action in Wano. We have Kinemon talking about the forces. They have 4,200 forces. Kaido and Orochi, not including Big Mom because they don't know about that alliance yet, but Kaido and Orochi, they have 30,000 troops. So, the alliance is at a big disadvantage. They're going to need more troops. Where are they going to get them troops? Potentially from the Grand Fleet. Frankie is making ships, and he says he's going to make ships for 10,000 people. Not 10,000, sorry, 100,000 people. Even bigger number. And who's going to need ships like that? Potentially the Grand Fleet, especially if they can't get their ships all up to Wano successfully. They have to get the carps up since they ain't getting the lift up, and it doesn't even look like the lift themselves can actually lift ships, just people. So they're going to need ships if they get here. And then we go back to Capone. He's going Dressrosa. Who's from Dressrosa? Leo's from Dressrosa. Who is Leo? Leo is one of the captains in the Grand Fleet. Is he going to be in Dressrosa? Well, the reverie should have finished by now, so they should at least be making their way back. So could we see Capone talking to Leo? Maybe Capone actually does know that Luffy went off to Wano, tells Leo about that. Maybe they hear something about Big Mom, Kaido alliance, and that causes Leo to gather up the units of the Grand Fleet and head off to Wano. Maybe speculation, but they're definitely going to need some more troops, and I think we all know where them troops could very likely come from, especially since in recent interview Oda has said that the Grand Fleet event, the big event that the Grand Fleet are meant to be taking part in, is going to be happening soon, and it looks like Wano is going to be ending up as a great big war arc. Maybe not final war, but at least a great big war arc, so that is very exciting. Finally with this chapter that I want to talk about this week is the fact that, like I mentioned at the beginning, Act 2 has ended. That builds up hype for next week, because last time we had an act break, we got Blackbeard, we got Mihawk, we got Perona, we got Gecko Moria, we got Blackbeard's bounty, we got Devon having a Kitsune fruit, Shiryu of the Rain had stolen Absalon's fruit and killed Absalon. Who knows what we're going to get next week? Next week is more than likely going to be a very hype chapter. I've heard theories saying that throughout Wano we're going to get all of the Yonko's bounties. We had Luffy at the start, then we had Blackbeard in the first interval. Could we be getting maybe Big Mom's one this interval? To be honest, I'll be happy with that, but I'd rather go elsewhere. Maybe go check up on Reverie. Maybe get Green Ball appearance. That'll be a great thing for next week. That'll be very hype. Who knows? Why not go to Shanks? See what happens with Shanks and Bartolomeo. Who knows? But we could get anything next week. So all eyes on next week. This chapter, fantastic chapter. So much to speculate. I've been on Twitter really heavy, speculating it like mad. This is gold tier. Plus, event exclusive Noir Widowmaker. One of the best chapters of the year, if not of all of One Piece. Highlights so far of Wano. Thoroughly enjoy it. Can't wait for next week. It's going to be crazy. Oh! Hey, so thanks for watching. What did you think? Let me know about it in the comments below. And if you enjoyed my video, maybe give it a like, and if you really liked it, why not subscribe? You can follow me on Twitter, Instagram and Twitch. Oh, and here's a related video you might enjoy, and something more fresh. I've been Hegassen, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye!